I would like to briefly introduce the initiative of Speaking from Margin. It is a student collective and academic platform for research scholars, social political activists, and the students to engage with contemporary discourses of social sciences. It attempts to build academic solidarity for social justice in higher education. We use this space to build solidarity among researchers from various marginal locations to engage with the evolving knowledge paradigm of social sciences. In our collective, researchers from non-traditional backgrounds, mostly from SC, STs, minorities, and OBCs, participate to gain a deeper understanding of research method, conceptualizations, theorization in the diverse field of social sciences. In our previous sessions, we received overwhelming responses from our participants. I would like to share the list of previous speakers who have contributed in our initiatives. Professor Kanchailaya, Professor Rajiv Bhargav, Professor N. Sukumar, Professor Nasreen Chaudhary, Professor Nandini Sundar, Professor Sudha Pai, Professor Satish Deshpande, Professor Joya Hassan, Professor Neera Chandru, Professor Narendra Kumar, Professor Umesh Baghare, Professor Akash Singh Rathore, Professor Khalid Anis Ansari, Professor Ajay Gudavarti, Professor Mohinder Singh, Dr. Sudhir Suthar, Dr. Soni Gua, and many others have contributed in our initiatives. With this introduction of our initiative, we have very distinguished speaker, Dr. Satendra sir. Dr. Satendra Kumar is a social anthropologist and senior researcher at the Institute of Asian and Oriental Studies, University of Zurich, Switzerland. He received his PhD from Delhi School of Economics, University of Delhi, India. He works across the fields of sociology and anthropology of caste, class, agrarian political economy, and political anthropology. He has been awarded the British Academic Fellowship at the London School of Economics and Political Sciences, UK. He has also been a visiting fellow at Johns Hopkins University, Center for the Study of Developing Studies, Delhi, Bielefeld University, Germany, University of California, Berkeley, and Indian Institute of Advanced Study. He has also taught at Delhi School of Economics, University of Delhi, and Allahabad University, Prayagraj. Kumar has a breadth of contemporary research interests, including democratic politics, social movements, caste, higher education, youth, and social change, particularly in South Asia. He has authored 3 books, more than 50 articles and book chapters. He is a frequent authoritative voice in the media on local, national, and global issues related to India, youth, farmers, movements, agrarian change, and higher education. Over the last 2 decades, he has conducted ethnographic field research among Jat and Gujar caste communities in Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, Punjab. His current research examines Dalit assertion and the reproduction of Jat dominance in Punjab and Western Uttar Pradesh, and the exclusion and discrimination against marginalized groups in higher education, a comparative study of India and Philippines. Beyond his ethnographic research, Satendra Kumar is also interested in combining social theory with history and literature. He is bilingual and has written extensively both in Hindi and English. He has been one of the founding members of Samajiki, a Hindi journal published by Rajkamal Prakashan, Delhi. Satendra is also co-editor book reviewed section, Journal of Peasant Studies. He edited a special issue of Sociological Bulletin on new farm bills and farmers resistant to neoliberalism. During his fellowship at IIAS, Simla, wrote a monograph on the politics and the culture of other backward classes in Uttar Pradesh, which Routledge published in 2023. He is also an author of Badalta Gaon, Badalta Dehat, Nai Samajikta Ka Uday. Now, I would like to introduce our discussant, Dr. Nikhil. Dr. Nikhil has received MPhil and PhD degree from JNU. He had been the host of president of Chhatra Yuva Sangharsh Samiti JNU since 2021 to 2023. He is a founder of Digi Politics, It is a consultancy service company to provide social media consultancy to politicians and political parties. He is also a social media influencer. His publications include reservation agitations of agrarians, caste in India, a historical and contemporary analysis, discourse of uniform civil code in India, role of social media in empowering tribal community, and how important are social media influencer in Indian elections. He has been invited by NDTV to discuss the challenges of tackling fake news and misinformation on social media. Now, let me introduce today's topic. Democracy in India was a product of colonial modernity and its interactions with Indian society, culture, religion, economic, and political system. Western political ideas, freedom struggle, and anti-caste movements played very important role in fostering substantial democracy in India. Initially, dominant caste captured the political and economic spaces. Gandhi massified the national movement. However, the hegemony of dominant caste remained unchallenged after independence till 1967. We can say that in the age of Congress system, the hegemony of upper caste was remain unchallenged. But in 1967, there was challenge by new dominant caste to hegemony of upper caste. Land reforms, spread of education, and political consciousness led to challenge dominant caste hegemony and the emergence of new middle class. Green Revolution, politics of emergency, and disenchantment with Congress policies sharpened the caste politics. And second challenge came in Lok Sabha election and after in Legislative Assembly elections. Third challenge came in the decade of 1990s. The politics of mandal, mandir, and market uh, changes the demographic of Indian politics. Now, intermediary Sudra caste came into center of the politics of national and state level, particularly in North India. This shift in power structure was interpreted as second democratic upsurge by Yogendra Yadav and as a silent revolution by their followers. India is an extensive and ethnographic study of the nuances of the North India highlights its contribution to the anthropological study of democracy. It argues that the long-term process of internalization of democracy within the caste body has fundamentally changed the working of Indian party system. Drawing on an in-depth ethnographic case study of the Gujars, the book presents a systematic analysis of political mobilization and culture and political participation of the other backward classes to understand why and how certain caste groups have been more successful in politics than others. It discusses various key themes such as popular democracy and the politics of caste, regional politics, and territoriality, myth, legends, and heroes in the Gujar community. The transition from lineage deities to caste deity and the reformation of caste community identity. It reveals the symbiotic relationship between religion and caste and shows how religion shapes contemporary caste. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Satendra sir for presenting his book. Sir, you get 25 to 30 minutes to present. After that, Nikhil will discuss your book and followed by your answers and Q&A sessions. Thank you. It's over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mukesh, for a long introduction and thank you all of you speaking for Margin team, this forum, and my friends who made a time for me. I haven't met most of you before, but this is wonderful to see you. Meeting Dr. Nikhil, Mukesh, Ganesh. I think Ganesh I met in JNU last in January, or I think I make it a presentation in JNU. So I think I met Ganesh, if I'm right, I don't know. But and of course Vidyasagar I know. And so first, thank you very much inviting me and giving this opportunity to speak to you and discuss my book. I think it's a wonderful to meet new friends and young scholars who are the life of academia. And you are all have a full of energy, vibrant. I think you brings diverse experience, energy, and anger, love to academia. I think it will change dramatically. I think next 20 years. I remember when I came. I mean, still, if you look at my Facebook, somebody wrote why these all three people, speaker and discussant, all are Kumar. So I told him if you go back and read their comments. So I think this reveals something actually. Why these people are Kumar? So anyway, this is a funny comment somebody made. So, but it's also like how the caste works and interiority of caste I talked about. So the point I begin here, how to understand caste today. This is one of the important questions because we are all facing it, whether you are casteless or you have a caste or without caste. So everybody face this question, whether you deny it or you don't deny is there. It is always, I mean, there is a, we are struggling particularly. India is a very vast country and many people are only entering higher education first time, or not only in education, but every field actually. You can say film, politics, or art. This is the first generation is coming, and there are large population is coming from, marginalized community. If I put it in one line, they can be SC, OBC, tribes, and minorities and women also. So it's the first generation who is coming to the to all these fields, and there is a whole churning is going on around it. I mean, across the country, and we and Facebook become a very good one of the space where we read each other and we find how many people are bitter or happy, or it's just sometimes very difficult to engage with a meaningful conversation. So anyway, thank you very much forming this platform. I think it's incredibly important for all of us to continue with such a platform, and I think you have a great, I think, reach also, and you invite fantastic people. So let us see. I mean, it's impossible to summarize a book which took 10 years to write. It was my PhD thesis, and then I gave it up and I got fellowship several, and I wrote this book. So but I will summarize. As you know, we can summarize a book in one line, and we can take a 1 hour to summarize. So there's a various ways, but I'll try to take a middle path and give you a little snapshot of the book in 30 minutes, and then we open for discussion. That is what Mukesh has suggested. So uh, let's begin. I'll give you, book has 6 chapters, and the central question is book which I'm discussing what is caste today in a way, and how caste engage with the democratic politics and or political modernity, basically, if you ask me. So how these two, if we take it as a caste and political democracy are interacting, what they're making of each other. Many people will say, I mean, of course, democracy has up and down in India, but we call it a democratic politics. It has its own positive and negatives. You have seen last 10, 15 years, lot of ups and downs, but it has opened the opportunity for marginalized groups who has so far either marginalized or not been into the public space. They are making a presence in politics and public space or not national scenario. And that's why I think, as Mukesh mentioned, right, Yadav's formulation of second upsurge or silent revolution in 1990s, I think, is open a new space for all these marginalized groups, and I think dramatically change Indian politics many ways, and has not changed many ways. This is also very interesting thing how you study caste. So my take, there are various ways of studying, but one of my thing was I wanted to understand what is the political imagination of democracy and how people who are at the margin they engage and how they understand the democratic politics, how they make sense of it, how they try to participate in that, because there's a various ways of participation, and what kind of opportunities this democratic politics opens for these people who were voting right, or universal suffrage. And it's a unique thing. Every individual has a one vote, and I think that's one of the sense of equality. We can't cast two votes. Everybody has a one vote, and it's a confidential, and it's a secret ballot, and we can express our choice. So there is a lot of things are there. Many people are critical. I know that you will also, my young friends will be very, very critical also, but we are not going into just, I'm trying to present now to my thesis here and the book. So book has a 6 chapter. One is so one of them is a rise of the caste and popular democracy in North India. Is try to summarize the literature. Basically, is a review of literature. How the second democratic upsurge opens up the space for new political parties, caste-based party, caste politics, and also plus religious politics, which BJP took to the pinnacles in last 10-15 years. So there was a moment in 1990s, and I would call them a juncture of three. I mean, not only two, not only Mandal and Kamandal, but also new liberalism. So that opens up a new politics, and a lot of writings have come about during that time to understand it. So that is basically the departure point of this study, if you want to say. So first chapter summarizes this entire debate, what is a relationship between caste and democracy so far until from 1990s. And then, I mean, I begin, of course, my study from post-independence, and talking about this. If you read the literate book, then it goes all this entire history. But that is short, is that. And then second chapter I move. Then and one thing I want to keep remind again and again, all of us, that it's an anthropological study, basically. That's why it's also based in a sort of a, not in a classical anthropological sense where you just live in one place, but like it's a multi-sited ethnography, which I lived in a village but also lived in a town, and follow political leaders, activists from village to town, coming back forth. So that's why one of the chapters is focus on caste and region, basically how caste works in a regional context. And so is interesting. And then caste is a Gujar, and region is Western UP. And in another local language, those who are familiar with, we call it the Upper Doab region, which begins from Delhi to up to goes to Ganges, Hardwar or Saharanpur. Those who are familiar from Western UP, this is Upper Doab region. And the Gujars you found in a prominent positions, and also they have been a quite a large population in this region. So, so who are the Gujars, basically? This is second chapter, talks about their history and how they, from colonial time to post-colonial, and how they are trying to address their identity, engaging with politics. I will come back to that, but let me just give a little summary of the chapters. Then third chapter is myth, heroes, and history. So how Gujars are rewriting their histories. One of the challenge, I think, last 20-30 years, you have seen a lot of literature is coming. Every caste is trying to write their history or rewriting their history, particularly the caste group who are at the margins. They're struggling. They are addressed by sometimes derogatory terms. They are so this is a how in public space we need and every individual, I think, deserve respect and dignity, and how there are a lot of prejudice and stereotype is still prevalent in society. So many groups are very stigmatized, and Gujars are one of them, who is stigmatized, who has been marginalized in public spaces and in cultural space. So, and how these groups engage with the these big narratives, how they create their own narratives, basically, if I put it their own narrative, their own way, and basically, of course, they borrowed from history. So this is one way of writing history, which is quite challenging. And what has happening in this process, I think new gods are emerging. So one of the interesting things happened, like how the lineage deities, agrarian deities, are giving space to caste deities, bigger deities. And you have seen recently, caste babas are also emerging. So there is a attempt, or there is if you look at the processes, how communities trying to make is a bigger claim, or winding himself, or trying to construct a community through the, so gods and deities also play very important, or the religious figures play important role. Then there is a chapter, fifth, is hero gods, kings, and rebel. What is how gods basically figure in everyday politics, or how ancient kings comes into the inform about modern politics. That is a quite interesting stuff about Indian politics, and it's not only to the particular caste group, but if you even look at the national level, so you will find how gods have appropriated by the particular parties, and they how they relate with the gods, or so it's an appropriation of certain gods, certain kings, particular kind of it's a particular kind of association. Caste group or individual try to associate themselves. And then the chapter is that the need, how we are a martial caste. There is sixth chapter, who is a martial caste. Yes, we are a martial caste. So Gujar also claimed, like, we are a martial caste, and why we are martial caste. So how there are, and there is a what are the claims to be martial, and why do we need to be martial? I mean, in this modern time, this is also important, and how caste move back and forth, caste body. And last chapter, caste and the anthropology of democracy. Basically, I try to reflect how anthropologists can be, or this ethnographic method can be important to study relationship between caste and democratic politics. What we gain out of it, I think that is this chapter tried to say in conclusion. So this is a sixth chapter, and with conclusion, so you get this idea. I'm sure many of you have not even seen the book. Many of you have not read the book. So that's why it was. It will be helpful to get some sense what is going on in the book. So what exactly it is? So if you want to know what is my central argument of the book? So central argument of book is how Gujar engage with democratic, or the way Gujar engage with democratic politics. It challenged the secularization theory of modernity. So those who are familiar, what modernization theory claims, that as you become a modern, as you become a economically sound, you become more secular. And I think India is happening other way around. As you become a more and more modern, you become also called confirmatory, whatever you want to call. We can have a discussion later on. But as the economic prosperity is rising, we are more inclined to be more religious. And here, religious and concord, and then you have to deconstruct it, unpack what is religion mean here. Is identity, is a performance, or it's a what is that, and why people are so going backward rather going forward, while attendance in churches. Vidyasagar in Germany, he can tell how people are not interested in going to church, but to go to so-called whatever deras, temples, or somewhere there's some kind of religious appeal continuing, whether in terms of whatever it is. But it's a very interesting. I think that's what. So it says there was in 1990s there was a theory called secularization theory was on the rise, and DL said in CSDL caste is getting more and more secularized. But it doesn't seem, I think it's more and more, maybe despite both movements are going on. I think secularization is also going, but simultaneously there is a religious tone is there. So what I try to say here, caste is embedded into the Hindu, because I'm trying to study only these Hindu Gujars, or what they call themselves, the Hindus. They embedded Hindu religion, though ritually weakened. I mean, it's not a ritually strong, but and what is that? Gujar politics oscillates between social justice, nationalism, and the claim of being backward tribe and kshatriya. So see, there are the three registers they move on. So if some of you are remember the argument, famous argument made by Gopal Guru, that the marginalized groups must claim the nationalism, the secularism and nationalism, not only the social justice. And here that's one of the intervention I try to make, that that OBC politics, or the marginalized group politics, not just confined just to social justice. They are quite in that way quite vibrant, and you cannot club them just only benefits, and just they're talking about reservation on all for facilities, but they are also shaping politics, national politics, in different ways, which one of the ways of they're engaging actively in politics of nationalism, they engaging in politics of secularism, they also engaging in a nation building, and there you can't just say one thing about this politics of marginalized groups just only for reservation and social justice. That is what is everything okay? I think I heard something. Okay. Yes, so I mean, I won't go into the detail of the other details, but second chapter, as we was trying to give a little bit to glimpse, so that as I was telling, a little bit geography of Upper Doab, until 1803. Upper Doab was called 52 Parganas, and it was governed from Delhi, the Mughal Empire, and they were the Sardars and they were the Nawabs, and Sayyid was very famous in that time. So most of the 52 Parganas from Delhi to Saharanpur until Ganges was governed by the Mughal Empire and by Sayyid. But 1804, I think British company conquered this area, and this was so when they conquered, there was three kingdoms, small kingdoms in that. There was a king Landhureval, basically called, and there was a Gujar king. This was a Gujar king, and there was a Raja Ram Dayal Singh Gujar. He was called, and Raja of Parishadgarh, Nain Singh, very famous king who fought against the British, and king of Dadri, Rao Ajit Singh, who was also took a lead battle in 1857. So these all they were the king's principalities in Western UP. So now you see from Delhi, Dadri just next to you, next to Ghaziabad, Dadri, where SNU, Modern University, private university, Sivnadar University, there in Dadri, it was a kingdom, sort of a Gujar kingdom it was. And there was another kingdom in near Gadmukteshwar, or near Meerut, which is called Parikshitgarh. And there was another one in Landura. So look at this map, then you can get a little more idea. This is UP, and we go to here. Oh, you don't have a slide. Sorry about that. But anyway, if you have access to, you can see, if you have a mental map and traveled, so that you can see that it covers entire Western UP. And they were, of course, farmers. They were jamindars, other than kings, and also it's a peasant tribal community which has a cattle herders, milk tender. So it was a diverse community, not just only one thing they were doing. After British conquest, what happened? They lost these all, a lot of access to land, power, and they will become almost governed by British. And British wanted to, as wanted to put high taxes, and Gujars were not interested to pay taxes, high excessive land revenue and tax. Basically, company rule was, by now you know, company rule was main purpose was to collect the land revenue. That was the main how they were commercialize, land. Gujar protested; they were not interested to paying the tax, and it was really, it took a several confrontation between Gujars, and you can read a wonderful history written by the Kloff, one of the German historian. The Kunja battle is very famous, where Gujars attacks in Saranpur Raja were King Landurewalas, and they killed all, several hundreds Gujars and women, and without any reason, because they just want they resist the land revenue, imposed by the company rule. So Gujars, in a way, they were very angry, and when in 1957 erupted across country, so these all three, like small principalities, where was Raja Kadam Singh or Dhan Singh. Dhan Singh Kotwal was the inspector in Kotwal. You know that everybody comes from, you are familiar must be Kotwali. So Kotwal was in Meerut, and he was from Ghaziabad, now is in Noida, and he was from, and Raja Nain Singh, descendant from Riksha. They all rose against British rule, and they were mercilessly actually killed a lot of people in that. And so it was interesting to see then, and British was so terrified by them because of their ferocious fight. In 1924, they were put under, their level as a criminal tribe actually. And those who are familiar here, they may be knowing that in 1871, British designed act which is called Criminal Tribe Act 1871, and they appended it in 1994, and Gujars were also included, and hundreds of castes actually were included. Nishad were also included in that. Many of you know all of them history. Sansi in Punjab, there are several castes were included, and once you include it as a criminal tribe, then surveillance, happens. And they, so basically the nature of the Gujars was like they were nomads. And some of you may be familiar with the J.N. Davies work, who has written wonderful essay on nomad as a thief. You know how these nomads were uh, put under this category of a thief, or bandits, and there was surveillance. They were put in particular colony. You read that essay; it's a wonderful essay. How they were surveillance, were put under all these communities. They were not allowed. They were tracked. Kind of what kind of profession they do. They were always police, raids. So it's a wonderful writing how these communities were criminalized and wild. And these words, when they go to a legal category, and they acquired social connotations. This is the history. This is the story of the Gujar community. And though 1952 Criminal Tribe Act, which is CTA, was repealed by younger committee. But if somebody calls legally in a 100 years of 50 or 100 years by one name, that continue to in everyday life, it acquires its own life, these terms. And once they acquire their own life, social life, basically that's what happened with Gujars. In everyday life, they were like a sort of very, very stigmatized communities. So how to come off this stigma? That is what the struggle. This is the book is about, how they're trying to come over this stigma, how they're fighting this stigma. This book is about that. And so I try to focus on caste association, Gujar caste associations like Akhil Bharatiya Gujar Mahasabha, activists, lot of activists, and Gujar historians, and political leaders, ordinary Gujars. They're trying to, rewrite their history. They're trying to claim their space in national history. They're trying to claim a dignified space in public space. Look, we are not a criminal by as British act labeled us, and we are citizen of this country. So this is what is happening, and you have seen a lot of recent protest in NCR over this Mihir Bhoj statue. You might be familiar, those who are having keen eye on Western European politics. Recently, a lot of dispute is going between Gujars and Rajputs, who go. So one group is saying the Gujars are saying Mihir Bhoj was a Gujar king, and Rajputs are claiming that they are Rajput kings. So that this now has gone to the public domain. It's a very fascinating to look at that, and how history become important. So so one story which I began writing. So I collected 3 stories basically, and in 2000, let me begin with very interesting stuff. Is that in 2000 or around 2001, in Meerut, Jan Itihas Samiti was set up, and its purpose was there, some Gujar politicians, some more, uh, oriented by nationalist politics. They came together and set up a Jan Itihas Samiti, and his job was that it took quite a big job to rewrite stories about these communities, or histories, actually, you can say, rewrite history. And it's a mega project developed in 2000. So if you want to understand what is happening in this country, you have to go back to 2000 or 90s, or then even you need to go back to early 20th century, 1920s, 1930s. And I'll come back to that, because I have written the history of Arya Samaj, how they have influenced Jat and Gujars in this entire area, and brought the peasants and tribes and the Sudra communities into fold of Arya Samaj, and which was one way of Sanskritizing, but on the other ways also bringing to the fold. So it's a kind of a double by movement. So first, let me begin. What kind of history? What is the third chapter says? It's making legends and heroes in the making of Gujar history. So two legends emerge in recent Gujar history, which is very important for you. If you look at the textbook, what is in textbook? You read the Mangal Pandey was the first freedom fighter who started or initiated independence war in Meerut. He ignited, and he was the one. He was the hero, and he was celebrated in Meerut until I think 2000. But then after Jan Itihas Committee, then people got more aware, and the Gujar historians actually tried to dig up his history, and they found the most important role was played by Kotwal Dhan Singh, actually, and who was the martyr who challenged the British officers in the police station, and actually he led a group of rebellion against the British, and finally he was killed and hanged. So he was a real hero of the 1857, and this awareness and this history makes a huge impact actually in Meerut. So one thing is that they set up a statue in the civil line, and then finally, it's a long story. In the small villages of Meerut, Parikshitgarh, Garhmukteshwar, setting up these small statues of Dhan Singh Kotwal, and village gates were named after Dhan Singh Kotwal. Schools came after Dhan Singh Kotwal, and it's become a public culture. People go visit the statues, and so now if you go to Meerut, everywhere you can see Dhan Singh Kotwal dwar or gate. Most important, even the police station now, this called the police station with Kotwali, there is a statue set up, also installed there. And the police academy is named after him. And there is one chapter is prepared, is taught in the police academy training in Meerut. There is a police academy center in Meerut was set up, I think, recently. So they have one chapter in their syllabus which told the sacrifice of or martyrdom of Gujar Dhan Singh Kotwal, who played a very important. So look at now. This history. In last 20 years ago, nobody knew or if people knew that, it was only thinking Mangal Pandey. Now, I think this whole thing has changed, and it's become the entire merit space, and this civil society and groups know that who was a real uh, martyr or hero for that 1850 or first war of independence. That is how, I mean, it's a very remarkable change in public space and public discourse. That is what one thing has happened. And I can go on because there is I studied three histories and collected several booklets, several pamphlets, several magazines, which they are trying to. So one was Gujar Swaभिमान, the book, earliest book on Gujar history, published in 1908, and it book was revised later on in 1998. So I got both versions, and I have compared these two histories. And there was a book called Veer Gujar, written by Satyaveer Gujar. And I took another book, Gujaro Ki Utpatti or Vistar, which is written by Khurshid Bhati. And here, I think you must have noticed, I focused only the Hindu part of the Gujar. But Gujar also are Muslims. Gujar also Sikh, actually. So, like one Gujars or in Kashmir or in certain, because even in Western UP, there are a lot of Muslim Gujars also exist, and they try to form, sometime come together. Recently, the Ikra Hassan, if you have heard name, very famous, Karana, a young woman who elected as a MP, who is become very popular. So she's also Gujar, basically Muslim Gujar, and they try to form, come together time to time, and also during elections, and they consider themselves one community. Anyway, we'll come back to that. There's a more complex history within Gujars. Here I try to teach, write in this chapter, how this quest for dignity, how the quest for respect, leading these communities to rewrite their history through whatever resources are available. And many people are challenging because they are not histories. But I think one has to learn that history writing is also not only European project, but is also indigenous, can be Indian project, or, kind of the way we want to write our own history. So the challenge is that what I'm posing here, I know many people will agree or disagree. The point is, if you ask me what is the point of this, is that we cannot avoid these histories. That is and then idea of ityas and samaj can be very important. That's the new concept, can be very, very important to understand these histories. So these narratives contest local hegemony. Why these narratives and histories, new histories, are important? Because they create this local, they become, in one way, they become anti-caste, because they challenge this hegemony. They challenge caste structure. Okay, they also fall back. Actually, that's what I'm saying. Is a double movement, going backward and forward. Sometimes they reinvent purity. Sometimes they create pollution. But there is a element of decolonization, and also there is a element of de-Brahmanization, because we are defining ourselves. The first step is that get rid of these categories which British created, which, post-colonial state created for us, or other communities created for us. Let us, decide. Let us, put them forward. So this, I call them decolonization and Brahmanization going together. And also, it's not again in a linear way, because many of friends become very, very impatient. They say, look, it's not. They're falling back into religion. They're falling back into the purity pollution discourses. But I think one has to look at this linearity which is proposed by European theory may not work. I mean, there is in country like communities like those who are emerging communities, you will find a lot of contradictions, and that's why the caste, if you want to understand in modern India, you have to understand in contradiction, basically, rather in a linear one caste system theory. So here I found two concepts very important. which is very useful for me, Samaj and Itihas. So Itihas writing, one way here, we are claiming our own history, one. Second thing, we are defining ourselves, what we are. And that is who gave us this? I think this was a democratic movement of 1990s, which opens this opportunity, who gave the Gujars or many marginalized caste opportunity to define who they are, what claims they can make. So anyway, if you ask me, what is the stake? Why is it important? I would say, I ask you the question actually, the multiplicity of construction of the past can we acknowledge, and without relapsing into uncritical relativism. So I want, as a social scientist, also, I mean, simultaneously, we are not, just only one thing, but as a social scientist, I also engage with that. Should we challenge? How should we challenge these histories? And if we challenge, or should we accept as they are being written, or should we avoid? I think we cannot avoid. We can't neglect. I think we need to accept the multiplicity of construction of past should be acknowledged. These all claims, but without relapsing into uncritical relativism. So I think that's a bigger question is here, and it's and why these are important, because history writings and their claims generated new mobilization, and it has a larger political ramification for democratic politics in India. Like and 2 years ago, 1 year ago maybe, or 6 months before, many people thought there is a dead end to the politics. But Indian democracy, vibrancy of caste, redefine again this politics and opens up a new space for discussion. So anyway, so that is the chapter is trying to address a bigger question and a small, through these narratives, rewriting of histories. Do I have still some time, or I quickly, hello?
Sir, please
Ganesh?
conclude, sir.
Okay, I should conclude. Just only 5 minutes is okay?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay. So then fourth chapter is Sri Devanarayan. This is a chapter where new gods emerge. And it's a one line, if you want to ask me, what is the chapter, is talk about how political economy of caste has changed over the years, and quickly, I mean, how these all, whatever you call agrarian caste, nomad caste, being coming into this urban space. Now they become urbanized. And if you look at the Gujar economies, entirely transformed. It just took in last 20 years. You can see, new capital. If you go to Noida, you see the Kasana Tower, and they are one of the richest group in Delhi. So there's urbanized. So basically, what has happened? The agrarian deities, village deities, has transformed into caste deity. So Devanarayan emerged a new deity or god who bind the Gujar community across North India, Rajasthan, Haryana, UP together. That's the essence of this chapter, just one. And another chapter, I'm just quickly winding up, hero gods, king, and here hero gods, king, and rebel. Basically, the timelessness of political figure, where one is Devanarayan, who has been considered not only god but also political figure who fought social justice, and he was for justice in and it is a Bhagavad Bharat. There is a folk epic in Rajasthan. They play it. There is a performance of it, and there is a story of evil and good, and where how the upper Devanarayan fought against the upper caste, and how and that has to be now reenacted in everyday life, and it has become a kind of imagination. So how Devanarayan give inspirations to fight against the powerful and upper caste, and in the this all atrocious or dictators or whatever you want to say, hegemony. And another figure is Mihir Bose. How Mihir Bose reclaimed as a Gujar king, and who has been also the incarnation of Vishnu. And so this timelessness, like in ancient, and it comes down today, and then people relate and emulate. Look, why we want to rule today, because our ancestors were the rulers. That is very interesting, this and that's give a new energy to Indian politics. And I'll come back Q&A. And the sixth chapter, or you can say last, is we are a martial caste. And what and how Gujars, when they're trying to fight this stigma, so how they're going back to the history, you see, and they try to say we are, since immemorial time, Kanishka was a Gujar and who ruled this South Asia, and we protected Indian borders since medieval or ancient times. They're one of the claims. So we are protector of the poor. We are protector of the marginalized. We fought against the outsiders. So they claim they want to become a protector. Protector means they want to become a king. They want to become a here. So and this comes from their ancient claims, their medieval claims, their claims to be a lineage from a god who share the blood with the god or ancient kings. So they claim that we are a caste of protectors. And they run the show actually because of through these claims, and territory in that become a very important figure. So territory and politics is a classical sense, if you want to. All politics is local. So in that sense, one way, the politics is located in Western UP and claim of territory, like they started claiming of, this Greater Delhi, actually, which is, Noida, which Kshetra of UP, basically, which is, they claim this territory belonged to us, this territory. And through this territory, they imagine a national politics where they claim ancientness, relation with the gods, bloodline, and ancient rulers. It is what this democracy gives them, this, the gives them this space, electoral politics. And of course, in that, money, violence is part of that, muscles, money, and all this part of that, and also dispute with SCs, and of course some friendship with some they form a alliance with SCs and goes with different caste group. It's a fascinating chapter. If you want to read, I can come back later on. And the conclusion, okay. So what I try to conclude, I think what I try to say, democratization still continues in India. As I said, decolonization is happening, and this rewriting is also challenging Brahmanization. So democratization continues through the Samajikaran. This is the word I use, or Samaj and Ityas. So it's a both tilt here. Caste system is contradiction. I think is where now I would more claim is that it's very difficult to form a coherent theory of caste. I think caste is in contradiction. Caste system is not working the way, no, very few people are ready to accept the supremacy of Brahmanism today. So there is a constantly, but also, back and forth. There's an oscillation between different registers. So caste. So what is the caste view of democracy? If you ask me, so I would say the why. I mean, democracy is able to give a space to marginalized groups. Of course, not all. That is also an important question. Why certain groups has been more assertive, more spacious, is also game of numbers, how you assert organizational powers. So basically, I try to say because certain groups have this, they're able to organize them more through either religion or for certain kind of discourses. And then it's because it's both actually. It's a global discourse in democratic Indian institutions. So all and imagination of marginalized groups that all work together. And it's just this interaction between all these three registers is working. And so neither democracy is stable nor caste is stable actually. In the remaking, both. Thank you very much. That is what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for wonderful presentation. Now I will invite to Dr. Nikhil to discuss the book. It's over to you, Dr. Nikhil.
Thank you, Mukesh. Thank you, Dr. Satendra, for such a wonderful presentation. After such a wonderful presentation, I don't think that I have something to say since I am a discussion now, but I will focus on like what you have. I will try to summarize and I will try to be discussant of this book. So again, thank you so much, Dr. Satendra, for writing this wonderful book. This book is like a wonderful intervention in the everyday political practice of backward caste in India, especially in Gujars. Since you have already mentioned like how popular politics is lived, experienced, and understood at the local level. So, like the making and remaking of Gujar caste identity from ancient, medieval, and modern times. In this book, what I have observed. Okay, first I will go to the literature and methodology. The methodology is simple. This is the ethnographic work of your PhD from 2004-5 to 2013 and 14. You visited in the western Uttar Pradesh, the Meerut, Kanpur, and Mawana area, and the author stay there and then discuss the ethnographic and even snowball sampling that to study the various demography in that region. The author also deals with the primary work, like taking the intro of semi-structured intro in that citizens, politicians, government officials, historians, and secondary data also include like study of the archives and many other things. So in this book, what I found a lot of literature work. If anyone is not from, for example, is not from a political science background, like how the caste has influenced Indian politics, the author has included a range of literature, starting from like Doom and Theory of Purity Pollution to Ratni Kothari, Casteization of Politics, and then M.N. Srinivas, Dominant Caste of Concept Power, Rudolph and Rudolph Caste Association, Yogendra Yadav, like Mukesh and Dr. Satendra may also mentioned, Second Democratic Upsurge, Chodka, like traditional non-dominant caste is coming into mainstream, and Christoph Jefferlot, of course, Silent Revolution. So since I also did my MPhil from JNU on dominant Fijian caste reservation movement, so I had already read these thinkers also. But with this work, your work, even from Badalta Desh, Badalta Bharat, I have read that book and this one also. So you have also done some sociological and anthropologist thinkers like Micheluti, who has worked on the Yadavs, and the Khaka, who has worked on the tribals, how they are living the everyday democracy. So this is like what I got from this. So since you have already discussed all the six chapters, so I will try to cover that what I got from it. I got is that the three phases of Gujar caste identity: formation, reformation, like they deal with democracy and politics. First is that caste association. The caste association has been the main factor of the emergence of the backward caste in India. Starting from, for example, you have written that how the Gujars were stigmatized by the Britishers in 1857 by disallowing them, and they were fighting against that. You even gave that name that it was not Mangal Pandey, it was, I'm forgetting the name, but I will remember. So, for example, the patronage was given by the Rusil Bhatti, by the Gumi, for writing Dansing Kotwal biography. I think Dansing Kotwal was the famous person. So, so they just fought against the stigmatization of the so-called the elite literature, those who have written the history, and they fought against it. And the caste association, when the first caste association was formed in 1905, like it was the Jat, All India Jat Mahasabha. So Gujars were unified with that movement, but after the differences in 1908, there was a separate All India Gujar Mahasabha. So they just started their own scholarship, own schools to mobilize and then to make awareness about the education in the Gujar community. So that caste association, in fact, helped in the social reformation process of the Gujars. Second, what Yogendra Yadav, like second way of democratization, that 1990s reform, marketization reform. Even the author in chapter 2, the demand for greater Delhi, also related with this, that in greater Delhi are the region that are related to NCR, like Faridabad, Western UP, and some of the Rajasthan district too. So what happens is after post 1990s, there has been economic reform, and the most of the Gujars lands have been bought by the builders. So what happened, due to the cultural old legacy of the Gujars, they have become the business owners and even constructed their own buildings in Delhi regions. And third, what I got is that the Arya Samaj. The Arya Samaj has traditionally worked in this region in Western UP and even in Haryana and in Punjab. So, what happened that due to this, there has been the rise of new god. For example, not I will say not god, but like most figures like Bhagwan Devanarayan, like the incarnation of Vishnu. Of course, it was there, but it has been prevalent over the local lineages or deities. Or Goga Peer. It's also worshipped in the Western, of course, in Rajasthan. So what happened when in the 1990s, when Mukesh even discussed that Mandal market and Kamandal politics was going on. So the RSS and BJP, they even did a lot of work to make some improvement to their voting pattern in the Gujar dominated area. So this Arya Samaj also helped in the RSS to get the Brahmanization of the Gujars within that fold. So when I was reading this book, I also found some personal reflection and shared experience. Since I also come from Bagpat area, so I found myself into the old nostalgic memory that and sense of belongingness when I was reading that book. You mentioned in page 44 that once you are visiting at night and some dacoit came and they looted you, and next day you found in others. Yeah, same thing. They one repeated with my father. It was the time of 1998, 98. It was my okay. What happened that my father retired government servant. So what happened at the night when initially it was the not the online system but cash. So when my father's salary was given, though at the night the dacoit just looted all the money and even the watches from. And then father came in light. So one of the reason of migration from that to Delhi was that in 1998, 99. Okay, so I also found these belongingness that very interesting. So, like the author, I too have witnessed how the villages have become more contested than harmonious spaces, especially for the lower OBC and the Dalits. So, that you have mentioned. So, I really enjoyed reading your book, but I have three main concerns or like three inquiries regarding that book. First is on page 100. You have mentioned that the misuse of the SC/ST Act by the Jatovs. Actually, the statement surprised me, and I don't know whether you have given that proper reference to substantiate this claim. But if you give me some data, then it will be good. And additionally, there seems to be the lack of exploration of Ambedkarite literature in this book. Only minimum coverage is given on this. And second point is that I'm little surprised how Gujar gangs, dacoit or rebels can contribute to the solidarity and can strengthen the democracy. Okay, I think I need more insights from you on this issue. And also the author also mentioned that till 1968, like the mobilization of OBC and Dalits within like of course what client patron relation. So Gujar used to mobilize the lower OBC and Dalits. So I want to know whether it was a forceful or the dialogue form of mobilization by the Gujars of the Dalits. And third, since I also come from Bagpat, so I have observed and some anecdotes from that area is that I noticed a lack of the mention in the book how the Gujar treat to the upper caste, especially Brahmins, because there are some anecdotes. Even my relatives say that the Gujars used to even touch the Brahmin feet. So, have you observed such things in your fieldwork? So that's the three things I would like to know. But thank you so much, Dr. Satendra, for writing these insightful books. I really enjoyed reading this book and like the main myths, regional politics, how the democracy is experienced from ancient modern India to contemporary time. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you, Nikhil, for discussion. Sir, please give a reply. Sir, sir, am I audible?
Okay. Yes. So first question. I think you misread I think this is total something misreading. I think I was citing somebody. I said there is a common understanding. I did not say as an author, it was not. I said in these times, there was a common understanding. So that is not I'm saying, is saying that how people were saying. So that SC/ST Act was misused. I did not say, I did not say this. No. So please correct yourself. This is a big information. This is a huge difference. When you write it, like
Okay.
how upper caste interpreted it. So there is a two ways how to saying it. Author is saying, or how author is bringing concern of, we are having dialogue. What SCs are saying, what OBCs are saying, what upper caste is saying. Hope it makes sense to you now. I did not say, no. Author never said that. Please make it clear. Second thing is another very important, Ambedkar. So I am very sad to tell you this story. Book went to review. Okay, so reviewer said your book is falls into political anthropology. It is not a caste study. And so there is no scope of using Ambedkar, because I wanted to bring, which I mentioned actually, the Ambedkar's literature in that said gradation of, this graded inequality. How is still this whole caste system is evolving around the graded inequality despite this samajikaran. And this reviewer didn't find it very useful, and I don't know, because I don't want to discuss all this politics here of these reviewers and who said you remove this, you remove that, you remove that. So I accept that, and it was a removal actually. It was like forced removal of this literature, because I use two books of Baba Sahab, and I was trying to bring into this discussion, how this, graded inequality and, issue of untouchability and endogamy basically was, complicated in this caste context, basically how untouchabilities create again, actually. Third, you pointed out very, very rightly this thing, and that's why I said, and I think all of you guys, because you are the now into this, entire into there, then you can guide me more or you tell me more. But my impression is that if you do caste studies today, it's very difficult to make a linear theory, or you can say a coherent theory. It's a caste in contradiction actually every moment. So as I said, the one moment you are studying is as a decolonialization, means we are challenging the British, caste are challenging British categorization or British terminologies. Caste are also challenging Brahmanism, but also other side, they're falling in the trap in the word cultural community, they call themselves, and sometimes association with ancient god and religion make them follower the Brahmanism, which means what you are saying, touching the feet of, supremacy of the Brahmins. Because as soon as you enter into the larger Hindu fold, then what is at the top? Then you fall into that trap. So, and that is why you need to study either if you study caste in wholesome or one aspect. So if you study in one, then you will not find it. But if you study in as a whole, you find how fragmentary it is. In one aspect, it can be very, very liberating, very, very revolutionary. On the other hand, said if you go to religious aspect, how people are religiously becoming a blind, accepting certain kind of hierarchies. So yes, in certain space, they were touching the feet more and more middle class. When your upward mobile class is getting more ritualistic in certain sense. But if you see the nomadic cultures among the Gujars, they were not touching them. No, but it's a very similar to Jats. Jats were always mocking Brahmins in Western UP, but you see, they are quite Sanskritized these days. As soon as you become a middle class, then where you go, then the religion become in modernity. I think we need more studies and much more critical stand here than how religion is taking over this country. in whatever form, either maybe in sect or deras, or what is the religiosity which is taking over, and why in the way touching feet never go, because people also go to deras and they touch feet. They see the any stone, they go and touch and feet. So despite education is not helping them, so in a way middle class is becoming, if every middle class in the emerging middle class one way or other way falling into this trap of religiosity, and sometime, and I'm making bigger claim, not only touching the feet, but they go to this whole what you call them, superstition, and one way of religious dogmas or prejudices. So you are right, partly you're right, they touch the feet. So I have seen that, because they're more, as you said, you get more money, you get more middle class, then you go more Hindu way of weddings, Hindu way of marriages, or Hindu way of worshipping, or other way around, you seek another sect or Baba to go there. So I don't know if I answer, but I think we needed really more research on this religious aspect. We can't get it away. India is totally taken over by it. We are waiting for miracles in everyday life. You are also waiting for miracle. I am also waiting for miracle. चमत्कार हो जाएगा, होने वाला है. I think that is what is we are waiting for. It's a big thing, actually. That's why I'm sharing with you. It's a big thing. It's beyond I mean, that's why social scientists need to really work. We can't dismiss it like old leftists dismiss the religion as a category, or they are using as a superstructure. It's a very integral part, despite whatever you say. You believe, not believe, your friends believe. Somehow, this religious drive across the world and it's across the world. I mean, Europe is differently struggling. Vidyasagar can tell more, but it's a very, very differently, not in that way exactly. They are not going to church, but they were differently coming back through the right way, basically. It's enter into the politics. So anyway, we can take more questions, and I can think a little bit more.
Thank you, sir. Now the session is open for questions from audience. We have 15 minutes, so we can take only few questions. So it's open. Anyone have question? Can ask.
Oh, one question I think I missed. He said, how Gujar gang can contribute to democracy? Of course, no gang can contribute to democracy. Of course, no gang can. But see, if you, I think Vidyasagar can tell much better than me, because he come from Bihar. There was no other way at certain point. There was no other way how to dent the upper caste political class. What has happened in Bihar, it was very sad in a way as a result, but there was no other way how you enter into the politics, or how you capture the state power. There was no other. So I'm not romanticizing any gang culture, but there is a ways how violence is romanticized in India. If you go, taking from Western UP, who is a political leader these days? Who is getting vote? Not you and me. If I and you go and contest the election, I think we will not get only more than 3. Only Vidyasagar will vote us. That's all. Finish. Or I and you will vote each other. See, it's a criminality, I think, part of how you campaign. Look at the every campaign. If you're more vociferous, the way masculinity is part of this politics. Criminality is part of this politics. Look at that. You know better than me. You're sitting there in the way, and if you're coming from Bagpat, I mean, who knows better than you? See, so I'm not romantic. I'm trying to how they, this. We have not find a way how, I mean, and this question for entire India, we have not found a way to engage with politics in non-violence way. That was only the sort of a advertisement. After I think the way I mean the politics unfolded in India, violence became a way of life, because a small minority was not giving a space to a larger majority. So what? So I don't know. I mean, we need to discuss it. I can't give you very ready-made answer, but I'm not also supporting that. What I'm saying, but is we have not designed political culture in such a way where you and I can also go and contest the election. That is what I was trying to bring it. Like the political violence and goonism become integral part of the politics in India. If I put it one line, that is what. Anyway, sorry, please. Somebody was asking questions, so I interrupted.
Okay. If anyone have a question, please ask.
Okay, so Mukesh ji, can I ask? I mean, I can't, open my video, but can I ask?
Okay, ask. Go ahead.
Yeah, so thank you, sir, for this very interesting talk about your book. I'm looking forward to reading it. I mean, there are two questions basically. One is about the methodology. I mean, it seems like, correct me. I mean, this is the impression I got. I mean, it seems like because when you are studying Gujars, it seems like you did your ethnographic work among Gujars, and it comes across as an inside out study wherein you are uh, embedded within the Gujar community historically, and you are then navigating that history, and that's what this book is all about. But I'm wondering, I mean, have you actually also done some ethnography about about SCs who come within that dominating area of the Gujars, and also some ethnography about Jats who fall within their vicinity and have a very entangling relationship among themselves. So it will be wonderful if you could tell us something how these Gujars are perceived by SCs as well as Jats, because they have a very contentious history as we know it, and that's one thing. Another thing is, I mean, which comes across. I mean, I haven't read your book, but I'm going by your presentation. I want to know. I mean, how does gender, gender, because you talked about religion, how there are Muslim Gujars also, and I'm very sure there is a very interesting history there, and you must have dwelt on that. But I'm wondering how gender actually figures in all this history that you have recounted. How has gender shaped this history? I mean, that will be very interesting to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravinder ji. Am I right, Ravinder ji? आपका नाम रविंदर जी जी. So I think methodologically is very clear, is a old style ethnography, but we improved the ethnography, not doing just one place. Now there is a reconfiguration of ethnography, which we do multi-sited ethnography. You travel with people, you sit with them, meet them and it has own limitations because it's a very micro level of data you collect, because you stay with you more kind of a sort of a community world. So that is very clear, and I have lay out what I did in the book actually. So so it's a very so I lived them, and so that. But yes, because like living in a village is not just like a or working with Gujars or Jats is not like this. You don't I don't live with SCs, because there's a, as you said, Jat and SCs have a very tumultuous or very contentious history in UP, particularly Western UP, as well as Gujars also. And I think Dr. Nikhil must have seen that I have dealt very detailed way these relationship between Gujars and Dalits basically. And also when you say Dalit, I think one has to be also mindful. Dalits are not only Jatas, but Dalit also Valmikis, Khatiks. And you go, it's a so different caste group has a very different. So Gujars started in a way in Western UP their political career largely, you say 1990. I mean, before they were with Congress, and before they were also with Charan Singh. Charan Singh worked with very closely with Ram Vikal Gujar, and he was in Congress. But in 1990, it's very interesting. They started with BSP actually, and you will be surprised to knowing that. So they thought they were so marginalized. They felt no clue actually, because the Congress were patronizing only Muslims in this region, because it's a Muslim dominated region, and nobody was ready to give them tickets. And so they were all voters except the Ram Vikal actually. And then so suddenly rise of BSP, Mayawati and SP gave them a life. So they begin, and so initially they were they started building a close political alliance with us. But the one thing, the reality is that one is ideological thing when you write a book, but reality is also there when you try to. One is a political alliance. There is a reality that Gujars are one way is a landed caste, as my friend had pointed out. It's a middle caste, and if you're landed caste and Jats are landed caste. So you see largely Dalits in the terms of Jatavs, if you talk about per se Jatavs, they have been landless, largely, not they become a agricultural laborers. So now you can see the relationship, labor and owner of the land. Obviously, they will be very, very tense. And that is why when Mayawati came in 90s, the violence against SCs went up when Mayawati was in power. You will be surprised to know that. And then Mayawati put this SC/ST Act very strongly in the investigation, and then this was declined because Dalit started asserted, and the Jat and Gujar thought they don't want to work on our fields. So it's a very, very contentious. But anyway, now it's, of course, because agriculture is also not in very good shape. You don't need much labor, and nobody wants to work in the field. So very few people work. So that kind of animosity has not there, but there is a prejudice against the, of course, fees. And of course, then there's in the Gujar village. I have written this, like how the now young man of Jatas, they are claiming it's our village. How can a 45 household say it's our village? They're educated. We have a larger numbers. So this contest is always happen. But there also play, like when I have a very many good friends, they say, these Gujars, they always play politics. And I ask them how they play the politics, because they have more political capital, and more capital because village politics is not only decided and defined by the village people. If you have a larger networks of MP, MLAs who are sitting in Lucknow, who are sitting in Delhi, that is also part of village politics. So that is why if you don't change the political class, it's impossible to change what is happening. I mean, village largely. So so what you are saying, yes, and it's a very, very bitter relation has been, and it's still very difficult to come. But yes, when the farmers movement was there was a strategic alliance. They try to. I wrote about it. They try to make a strategic alliance. You look, OBC and SC should come together. Farmers and laborers come together, and there's some success there. But yes, please go ahead.
No,
Please
so
go ahead.
that was a disturbance. So now the next question about gender that I have.
Also, gender. What in terms like what you? Well, so I mean, if you ask me, the politics is mostly the domain of men in Western UP. It's just mostly men. If there's a woman, uh, they're always surrounded by 10 men. If I ask a question, the men answer the question. So if you ask me, it's very difficult for me. First of all, even if you become the village sarpanch or village pradhan, hardly it's impossible to meet a woman pradhan, because largely they are answered by either son or given by husband, or if we can't sit alone, always there 5 people are surrounding. So it's a very masculine world, and the politics per se is a field of men in terms of even in OBCs, and even I have seen, of course, but there are several women there. Like as I said, Ikra Hassan has become a MP. but you see always she's surrounded by 20 men. You can't even talk to Ikra Hassan alone. So yes, women are there, but politics is a very manly domain because of we have talked about masculinity, violence, the way it's done. Even you become a sarpanch, MLA, I think their role is very minimal. I mean that is what I understand and what I felt and what I observed. You might have a different way of putting, so I would learn.
Sir, just a small comment on
No,
this.
sir. Excuse me. No cross questioning.
Okay.
Many other people are also waiting for the questions. Please,
I have a question.
if any other people want to ask, please
I have a question.
go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Sir, you mentioned about in Western UP during the farmers movement, everybody came together for the initial first part of the three farm laws actually. But how do you see in the second round where RLD joined with BJP and it won the election of 2 seats actually? How do you see it?
Should I answer? Respond it? Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, so it's a fascinating question. I'm the one who's writing about that. I mean, that's what I begin with. I think I was trying to, everybody puzzle, and I'm also puzzled or not puzzled, both, I think. But I mean, that is where you need to, there, I said you two things actually. I try to bring you two levels. One is a level of ideological unity, and another is everyday reality. I talked in my book, entire book, how politics is local. And politics is local means it defines your existence, who you are, what you will get. Country like India, every group is fighting for lion's share. So when farmers movement was there, then they were making a bigger kind of a umbrella or alliances. Once is when down is over, then Jats realize what we are going to get as a political power, what we should get. So everybody was in panic, and because they lost a lot of political power, because you see the RLD had no existence in last, I think, 2 3 elections after 2012 or something. Once BJP started in March, in victory march in Western UP, RLD, I think, almost finished, if you say that. They lost the Bagpat seat also. Dr. Nikhil is here. They lost the Bagpat seat. So now issue was that what to do, what is going to happen to Jat politics. There is no party. They had a very big party. So all politicians are also opportunists. Okay. And opportunity, I think one way you can say is a bad thing, but in a way, one way we are all opportunists. I'm not defending, I'm talking about the theory as well as practice. So when it comes to opportunity, it was their own, this is my understanding, it was their calculation. If they go with the BJP, they can return to the power and they might get something, through this brokerage. It's a brokerage politics, we go to you. I think that, and so I can't answer on their behalf. This is my understanding about their politics. I may be wrong, but that is what it is.
We can take one more question, and this will be last question. If anyone has a question, please ask.
I have a question. Exactly. Sorry for the interruption.
Oh, please go ahead.
Yeah. So my question is like it's a bit off the topic, but it's also relevant to the topic. Why religion? My question is like this: why religion as an institution plays a very important role in Indian politics?
Satyavrata ji,
Your
I
voice
think
is
we
breaking.
lost you. Could you just please
Okay,
Please repeat the question.
repeat?
can you hear me now? Okay, yeah.
Sure, yes.
So my question is why religion as an institution plays a very important role in Indian politics?
Uh,
Okay, religion. I mean, see, it's a very big question. So, I mean, nobody has so far answered, and that's one of
Yeah,
the
I know.
biggest.
I need just your opinion. I just need your
Uh,
opinion about. It's a big question. I know, but just know.
Sir,
see, sir, yes, please. I can try.
I think
Yes.
Satyabrat, if you have a question based on the book discussion, then we'll prefer to respond that. Not very generic question we are going to respond because we are about to in the discussion. If you are very specific about the question based on the discussion, then we will respond.
Okay, I have not read the book yet, so I need to
Thank you
read
so
it.
much.
Then, sir, can we take one more question? If Vidya,
I think Ganesh has raised the hand. Ganesh, you have still any doubts to ask?
Yeah, I think Ganesh will raising.
Ganesh,
Actually,
have you
yes.
question?
I was just actually I'm
Go ahead.
struggling. I already listened once Satendra in JNU also, and after listening today, I feel I learned something new today also. For the same book, the discussion, but something new. So where I was just struggling to find out, when we are talking about the democracy, that your book title is also talking about the popular democracy, right? So we are only limiting, like as an anthropologist, of course, you are reflecting the field and realities only. So can we consider also some our own scholarly, our own understandings of this idea and the imaginary ideas into the writings of book or something like, when you are talking about the popular democracy, then it is only about the politics, power, but in the other side, also we are looking about democracy is more beyond than that also. Like when you are talking about the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's idea of social democracy. But of course, that is also correct in the electoral politics. Even Dr. Ambedkar also unable to win the election. So how can we as a researcher who wanted to study on this kind of anthropological study, the field-based study, to this ideal and imaginary ideas or the theory? That's I'm struggling actually. So I would like to be clarify if you can clarify. Like also another book I was reading, like Anastasia Peliaski books, this Hierarchy as a Hope, where that also sounds like that somebody is defending hierarchy when I read that book. So therefore, this kind of question actually coming into my mind.
Fantastic question. So I think it's a very good because that's now. So very quick. No anthropologist is defending hierarchy, and if I read Piliavsky books and I know her, when she is telling Indians love hierarchy, if you ask me the question, she is not saying that hierarchy is a good thing. So two different things, Ganesh. Like if I say hierarchy is a good thing, there's a different. But what we say, in India, people love hierarchy. They're ready to touch that. They look for the feet. Where are the feet? If you go to Allahabad, I taught 10 years. I was a assistant professor. I was associate professor. 10 years I was in the university. Students was looking for the feet. Where they are, even you hiding under the table, they will jump. They will break the table and grab your legs. Say, sir, I was looking for only these feet. That is what she's trying to say. We love hierarchy. It's very difficult for us to come out from hierarchy the way we are trained in our social habitus. Rest, you reread the book. And second question, bigger question. We write book to every book. I mean, any decent book. written to responding particular literature. So, and it has a limitation because of that. So, like we can't address every question because that it's a very particular question. The book was addressing in anthropology a question of popular politics. So it's a very narrow in a way. So we were because there is a in last 20 years there was a study of politics by political scientists. So they were taking a macro picture of politics. So macro picture is that arrival of political parties and having, you know, much more simplistic picture of the, or you can say broader picture. But when you study micro level through ethnographic lens, it's a very specific, limited approach. You try to explore the relationship between different communities and politics and their so you find much more fruitful ways of bringing contradictions. So, and it helps in a way also indirectly to study the society, means relation of hierarchy and relations of equality. So what if you let us reread the book through the Ambedkar lens, you know, if you want to reread book, forget about what I forget about anthropology, then you find how a caste is not going away despite caste is challenging hierarchy. One finding. Second find, caste is instead of being secularized, being going away from religion, they are going more towards the religion. This is not a politics. This is politics and non-politics both. And what? Everybody's claiming I am higher, highest or higher. We are not trying to make a more collaborative, meaningful collaboration with lower caste or below what graded inequality, what Ambedkar says, this is one of the disease of this society, endogamy and graded inequality. You don't make, you are not interested in below than you. That is what this book is trying to bring together, different aspect of that, what is changing. So that is, you know, 3-4 things I can say behind that. So if you reread through that, you can, if you're keeping in Baba Sahib in mind, then you will learn all this, what is happening to society, what is happening to individual, why we are producing a fragmented society. Like what is the fantastic, what I love, what Ambedkar say, it's a one race, is a unique thing about Indians are a one race who are dividing, who has placed some people up and below them. So like within a race, one race which is dividing and stratifying themselves. It's a very, it's impossible. We have not find like, so this book gives you clue what is happening individual, society, caste group, despite our claims. We claim something, and that's where ethnography gives you very interesting material to answer Vidyasagar, because he had so many questions to me. But I can give you very capsule that what we say, what we do, that's what the gap between them, we can bring this together. And that is the one we need to learn about Indian society today. Like I become a top leader and keep saying nonsense things. There is no morality what I'm saying. There is no ethics what I'm saying. So there is what is the connection between doing and saying? And I think this, and any society you want to make, any nation you want to make, anything you want to make, one has to match, or there should not be so much gap, what you're saying and what you're doing. So everybody say we are equal, but as soon as you enter into their home, they give you plastic cups. In Western UP, they get 2 tumblers, they give you plastic cups. And they say this is equality because we are all drinking in a plastic cups. But everybody knows nobody drinks in plastic cups. Don't make me fool. In Allahabad, we were given I was a faculty, and they used to give me a tea in a paper cup. Do you know that? And director used to get in this cup, which is a, and we were shocked. You are living in modern India. Is institutionalized. It's a public institution where I was sitting. I was a UGC appointed professor, full-fledged tenure track. क्या बात कर रहे हो गणेश साहब? It's a unique country. Anyway, we have a lot of heated discussion. We can have that, you know. So this is, and this gives a clue. If you reread the book through that, you learn a lot of about the society, caste, you know, how reconfiguration of caste, reconfiguration of purity pollution, reconfiguration of these privileges, who is getting what. Anyway, hopefully we will continue, and I will be again in December, January. I'm there, so we'll have a more discussion. I will be there at least to.
Thank you, Grace, for question, and thank you, Grace, for question, and thank you, Dr. Sir, for wonderful discussion and enhancing our knowledge about politics, society, ethnography, and I have a thoughtful have a thoughtful discussion. And thank you, Dr. Nikhil, for having great discussion and our audience. Now we can discuss. Thank you so much.
And I say thank you again, Mukesh, Ganesh, and Dr. Nikhil and Vidyasagar. Many thank you, all of you, your team. You have been wonderful doing, and I think we have a bright future, all of young men, and we'll continue our discussion. Thank you very much, and you really deserve congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.